Hey guys, welcome back. So I recently asked you guys on my Instagram if you had any questions for me regarding college, life after college, finding a job, career, anything that had to do with school and graduation. And there's a good amount of questions. I typed out 100 questions and I try to get them down to about 30. Maybe a little more. I broke them down into 5 sections. The first one will be about context and background about my experience, what I majored in, what school I went to, what grades I got, why I think grades are important. And then the second section will be finding your thing, or like finding your purpose, finding your career / calling. And then we'll talk about life post-grad, my current career path, which is mostly YouTube and media. And the last section will be about life advices in general. So yeah, there's a lot of questions. Gonna try to get through them ASAP, and so let's get started. Thank you so much to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. They're my favorite online learning community, and if you guys have been around, you will know this by now. They're, as always, offering the first 500 people a 2-month free trial. I'll get to this a little bit later, and let's get started. How did you know what you wanted to do? I had no idea what I wanted to do. Graduating from college, I had no idea I would be sitting here 5 years later making a video about my college experience. What was your major in college? What made you choose it? I majored in business, and then I chose that because I could dabble in a lot of things within business, because there's marketing, there's finance, there's accounting, there's so many things within business that allowed for flexibility for me to choose and for me to figure out as I go. How to be happy when you're in a university which isn't your dream university. You can always transfer. The only colleges that I got into after high school were state colleges in California, so all the Cal States and UC Riverside. I went to UC Riverside because that was the best option and they gave me a decent amount of scholarship. I knew going in, like this is the most important part, I knew going in that I was going to transfer regardless if it was 1 year, 2 year, 3 years. I was going to transfer to either a better UC, UCLA, UC Berkeley, or I was going to transfer to USC, and thankfully everything worked out within 1 year. So as with anything in life, if there's a way, if there's a will, if there's a will, there's a way. Yep. Did you work during school, and if so, how did you find balance? I worked every summer starting from my junior year of high school. Senior year of college, I was working while I was going to school. So I stacked, there's something here that wants to come out, but it's not coming out. I stacked my classes on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So it's from like 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. or 6 p.m. Full day of back-to-back classes, so that Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays I could work. And I was working at a social media agency. Are grades important? We stress about getting good grades so much that we don't live in the moment. This is tricky. I want to say no, but it's also a yes, because it really depends on what you want to do after you graduate. The internships that I had, one was at a granola bar company called This Bar Saves Lives. For every bar that you buy, they will give a life-saving bar to a kid in need. It's kind of like Tom's, the for-profit but for-good 1-for-1 model. So I worked at companies like that. Most of my other friends are going to consulting and investment banking, because those are like the legit jobs. And when you're in a hyper-competitive environment where everyone's studying business, and I was in a business fraternity, you kind of get tunnel vision and you just want to be the best, and that's kind of what the best things were. But I was like, I'm just gonna do me. Even if people think I'm not as legit, which they did. They thought I wasn't legit because I didn't have a fancy job. But I was like, I'm just gonna do me. Just wanna be happy. Grand scheme of things, I don't think grades matter at all, because the fact that we're alive and that we're breathing and that we were born is like a 1 in a billionth chance. So why limit ourselves and why define ourselves by grades? But then again, if you know what career you want and grades are important, then grades are important. Do you have good grades in university? I graduated with barely a 3.0. I think I had a 3.01 or a 3.02. So no, but I'm proud of myself for graduating with above a 3.0 GPA. How do you stay happy in college through all of the stress? So I stayed happy through drinking and partying and going to raves and having fun with my friends. And I put more emphasis on that than I did on my studies. But the thing is, I kind of shot myself in the foot because I wasn't even happy when I was doing that. I was doing that because I was avoiding reality. I was avoiding my responsibilities and the thoughts in my head, and I was avoiding myself. I was avoiding facing myself. So would I wish this upon anyone else? I don't think so, but I would say that I think it's so important to enjoy our youths. I don't regret anything I did because now that I'm here, I'm like, okay, been there, done that, never want to be there again, but I know what it's like. So I think it's important that amidst burying yourself in books and studying, to pull your head out every once in a while. Go out, have fun with your friends, go enjoy being a teen or like a 20-something-year-old, because we're never gonna get that back. The older you get, the more responsibilities you have. And I guess on that note, if I could do it all over again, I would spend more time getting to know myself for sure. I didn't know how to do it back then. Looking inward, reflecting, asking myself the hard questions so that I'm not just like avoiding and running away all the time. And also to not take office hours, professors, school, like offerings, like our school, our universities, there's so many resources that I just completely like, I didn't care. Most important thing I took for granted was the proximity in which I lived with my friends. Now I'm in New York. Most of my friends are in San Francisco or LA. So it's like, you can't really, and I suck at keeping in touch via phones and messages. Like I'm really good with people when I'm like face to face, but I'm terrible with keeping up with people through texting. So that's something I'm working on, but that's that. How to be mindful over your future rather than let fear of it stress you out. So I'm reading this really great book called 10% Happier, and I'm gonna read a quote. Starving is fine as long as it's tempered by the realization that in an entropic universe, the final outcome is out of your control. If you don't waste your energy on variables you cannot influence, you can focus much more effectively on those you can. When you're wisely ambitious, you do everything you can to succeed, but you're not attached to the outcome. And I think this is the most important. You're not attached to the outcome. So that if you fail, you will be maximally resilient, able to get up, dust yourself off, and get back in the fray. Do you believe in 5-year plans, or do you think you should take life as it hits you? So I was a firm believer in the 5-year plan, in the 1, 3, 5, and 10-year plan. That was textbook Rowena. But over the years, especially when I started YouTube, I just realized that life is constantly changing. As you want to control it, you can't. So I've learned to accept and embrace uncertainty as my reality instead of trying to plan everything down to the T, because no matter how much you plan, things are going to happen. Things aren't going to go according to plan. Historically, I've been a very J, like a hardcore J from the Myers-Briggs, like judgmental, something with a J. I've learned to become more perceiving. I've learned to become more go with the flow, take life as it comes, like enjoy the breeze and not be so anal with planning. So yeah, I think I'm more of the latter now. Take life as it hits ya. That made me giggle. Okay, what can I do to support my bestie who is in college and horribly burnt out? Aw, I'd say kidnap your bestie to go on a BFF date. And if she's like, I cannot leave my studies for more than X amount of time, then just take her to grab food, get her mind off of her studies. When you're so in something, you need to be peeled out and peeled off. And I think in retrospect, me and all of my friends, as much as we might have not liked you, the moment you're like ripping us away from our studies, in the long run, it was like, thank you. I think now looking back, it's definitely like a thank you for looking out for me. What do I do if I can't find a purpose right after school? I'm scared of becoming stagnant. The thing with finding your purpose, I was disillusioned when I thought that after I found my purpose, my life would just be smooth sailing. But no, you will find your purpose and then you'll be tested again, and you'll kind of forget, and you'll find it again, and you'll kind of lose it again, and you'll kind of find it again. I think that's just life. We as humans are constantly changing and growing, so our North Star may be implanted in the sky for the foreseeable future, but the closer you get to it, you might be able to see it from a different perspective. So although your North Star doesn't change, you're constantly changing, and the way in which you get to that North Star or like follow that North Star may also change as well. So I think what's most important is to never stop learning, always stay curious. With a growth mindset, you can't go wrong and you won't be stagnant, because if you're always willing to learn, if you're always questioning, if you're always curious about the world around you, that's the recipe for not staying stagnant. A few ways that I've continued to learn after I graduated. One is through reading. I love business and self-help books, and I've just recently got into more like fiction books. I think sometimes they're too wild and crazy for me, but it is great to let your mind explore and implant your brain into different universes every once in a while. And another way is through online courses like Skillshare. So Skillshare is an online learning community with over 25,000 classes in design, business, creativity, anything artsy you can think of, how to edit videos, how to paint. There's actually a course on there that I want to share with you guys. It's called Discovering Success, 7 Exercises to Uncover Your Purpose, Passion, and Path. I think this is great for anyone who is kind of like, what do I do? I kind of have this creative thing that I want to do, but there's also this like more stable, financially sound path that I want to walk. Like, which path do I take? She does a really good job of breaking everything down, and I talked about these things in my older videos, but never in depth like this. So it's like redefining what success means to you, breaking free of expectations, going back to the beginning, listening to what you love, choosing a direction, managing your time, money strategies. So I think all of these are really important things and topics. There's not as many crash courses on this. Like, you don't learn about these things in school. This is something you're interested in. The first 500 people will get a 2-month premium membership trial, which will give you access to all of the courses on Skillshare. So there's that. Moving on. I got rejected from nursing school 3 times and I don't know what to do from here. Do I change paths? I think this comes down to how badly do you want to be a nurse. If you know it is your life's calling, if you know I must be a nurse because you love helping people and you want to help save lives, then keep applying and don't take no for an answer. And I think this is with anything in life, any job that you're thinking of. If you want something badly enough, you're going to keep trying until you get a yes. But if you ask yourself and you're like, well, I think I want to be a nurse because it's what is expected of me, or it's what I thought I should do because of something other than what you wanted to do for yourself, then maybe it's a sign from the universe that you should pivot. But these answers only we will know when we spend the quiet hours with our own thoughts late at night or early in the mornings when you're just questioning everything. Okay. Advice on choosing the career you want versus the career that pays better. It's tough. So there's 2 things. The first thing I want to say is the career that pays well is like a steady pay, right? And then maybe by the time you're 60, you're like here. The career that you want may not pay well in the beginning. First 3 years, 5 years, you might be making nothing. But the potential of it growing exponentially is a lot more than that like stable career path. Or there's a lot more potential and possibility for it to grow. So that's the first thing. Question that I ask myself is long-term fulfillment versus short-term satisfaction. I think a stable career path definitely falls into short-term satisfaction because you don't really have to think about most things and you kind of have your life planned out for you. Long-term for fulfillment, if you're gonna eventually do what you want to do, which is what I think most rational humans go through. That's why we have midlife crises where we doubt everything and we question everything and we look back and we're like, why did I live my life for the past 5 decades like this when it's not what I wanted to do or it's not who I am? What really helped me stay true to my path and to not waver when I wavered a lot actually, but what helped me stay grounded was that if you're going to go down this path eventually, might as well go down it now. How to stay positive when others are doubting my next steps. I really think it's self-awareness. If you know yourself well enough, you know what you're doing, if you know why you're doing what you're doing, which can change and which can be cloudy at times, but if you have a decent enough understanding, it'll allow you to not care as much about what others say or tell you. But that being said, it's good to listen to what other people are saying. And it's good to listen to their advices. Whether you take it or not, it's fully up to yourself. Okay, advice for graduates who've decided to take creative and unconventional paths. I don't know why that was so choppy when I was just reading it. I think the hardest part is over, taking that leap of faith, believing in yourself and working through all the knots and the mess in your head to be like, I'm gonna do this. So keep doing it. But also remember, if you have to pivot and change your course and change your path as you walk this path, it's not failure, right? You're not failing if you didn't do the thing you set out to do. I think life is a continual process of iterations and pivoting and changing. And I've always thought a path is like this, but I think life is actually more like this. And sometimes like, you know? Okay. What helped you find your purpose and how did you know that you found it? This question is going to take way too long. I'll link 2 videos down below. I mean, I hate when people do this because like, just tell me now. But seriously, I have 2 other videos. One is about how I created my dream job and the second is how I found my life purpose. So those 2 will be linked down below. How many years passed after graduation when you were content with your place in life? So I was content the day I graduated. I was so happy the day I graduated. I was like, yes. I don't know, school wasn't really for me. I don't really learn in that like school environment. I wasn't good at taking tests. Thankfully, I didn't let that define me too much because I knew I had strengths outside of taking tests. But when I finally felt like I could breathe and that I could look at myself in the mirror and tell myself, you did well, Rowena, child, you did well. It was actually earlier this year. Most difficult adjustment you had to make going into life post-graduation. I think the most difficult thing, I think it's not comparing myself to those around me because the path that I chose for myself was very different. It wasn't what other people were doing. And it's so easy to look around me and to be like, all of my friends already started working. All of my friends already started making money. All of my friends, they're doing the things already. And it just felt like I was gonna fall behind. I already fell behind because I didn't go down that path. But then I just kept reminding myself the whole short-term satisfaction versus long-term game. Short-term satisfaction would have been to pet my ego and to do what I thought I should do, but I knew long-term that wasn't gonna make me happy. What do you wish you had done in your final year to prepare you for life after graduation? I think going back to what I said earlier, I wish I spent more time in here, like trying to work out this and being a better friend to myself and trying to get to know myself better. Because I did a lot of that after graduating, but if I started doing that in college, I think that would have helped a lot. Has graduation helped define you as a person and what success means to you? Has graduation helped define you as a person? Not really. I feel like I don't really talk about USC at all. After graduating, I realized I found my definition of success, and it definitely wasn't my grades, it wasn't the fact that I graduated, it wasn't the job that I would get. I think success to me at that time was just being able to find the answer to what it means to live a meaningful and fulfilling life. I think that was what my definition was of success at that time. And it's constantly changing. I think now for me, talks about this in my podcast with Eileen from Lavender. I think success to me now just means like being able to go to sleep at night content with how the day went. I mean, it's very like there's a lot of layers to that, and me being able to go to sleep content is that I did my best and everything that I could during the day for work, by helping people, because my work is trying to help people in many different ways, either through Beauty Within or through my own personal channel. So there's a lot of layers to that, but I think at the end of the day, like our definition of success should be defined by ourselves, and it's normal if it changes over time because we're constantly changing as people. Ever felt lost professionally post-college? If so, how did you deal/break out of it? Yeah, dude, I felt professionally lost up until I'd say last year. So I graduated 2014 to 15, 16, 17, 18, 4 years. 4 years I was like, what am I doing with my life? Did I make the right decisions? Why am I here? What is the right path? Is there even a right path? And the answer I talked about in last week's video, I don't really think there is a right path. I think our path is a culmination of the decisions we've made in our lives, and eventually it's there already. If you believe in fate, if you believe in destiny, like our path is there, we just need to walk it. And if so, how did you deal/break out of it? Just have to keep walking. Even if it's blind faith, even if it's with mustering every ounce of courage you have in the depths of your soul to just like trust yourself and trust the universe to move forward. And it goes back to learning, staying curious, trying your best, and not being attached to the end results. How difficult was it to move to New York City? Did you do it alone? It wasn't difficult at all, and yes, I did it alone. How long did it take to fully transition from moving across the country to New York? I think because I moved around so often when I was young, it just it wasn't a thing. I just knew I needed and wanted to be in New York, and so I just went and I just lived, and it just kind of happened. Ow. Did you want to continue studying to avoid working? Absolutely not. I hated studying. I couldn't wait to graduate from high school. College, I think I had more fun, but I also, no, no, I don't like studying at all. All right, now we're gonna move to career/YouTube. I think I'll do a separate video answering your guys' questions about YouTube, starting YouTube, wanting to start YouTube, advice for starting YouTube. But this one is it's a little more broad. How do you decide what to do in life / as a career when you're not sure what you enjoy? I think just constant forward movement, or just constant movement. It could be lateral, it could be vertical, it could be any type of movement, but as long as you're trying, as long as you're actively engaging yourself and everything in you to try new things, you will find your thing eventually. When I graduated, I thought I was gonna start my own business. That didn't happen. We can just say it failed. I thought I was gonna code because I love tech startups. I was like, I could do that, UX, UI, that seems really cool, but like that also didn't really go anywhere because I couldn't, like I can't, like the coding language, just symbols and numbers just didn't work with me. And my neighbor's dog is just right outside, so you might hear the dog barking. Went into media work. Never in a million years would I thought I would work in journalism or at a media company, because my focus was very tech and business. And then started my YouTube channel, started helping on Beauty Within. It just kind of all came together as I like progressed in life. And throughout this whole journey, it was a lot of wavering, a lot of back and forth, a lot of doubting, a lot of questioning of what is the right path, what is the right thing to do. That's why I said it a little earlier that there really is no right path. Just keep walking and keep believing in yourself, keep questioning yourself, like healthily questioning yourself, reminding yourself of who you are and what you're doing, why you're doing what you're doing. And then eventually the path will reveal itself, as it did with me. Yeah. When should I really start applying for jobs? This is really up to you. If you want advice as a Marshall School graduate, you would start your sophomore year of college applying for internships, because that's how competitive people are nowadays. If you get an internship sophomore, junior year at a big firm, they will most likely give you an offer when you graduate your senior year. But if you ask Rowena, when's the best time to apply for college? It's up to you, dude. Maybe you don't want to apply to jobs. Maybe you do want to apply to jobs. What jobs do you want to apply for? I think those are questions that only you'll be able to answer for yourself. Do companies actually prefer someone with a college degree for a job in your industry? So I think it depends. If you want to work on like the agency side, I think it helps to have a degree to an extent. Most corporations do look at your resume and they kind of do care what that like you went to college at least. But what I'm doing right now, like as a creator, you can have 0 degree and you can create content. Anyone can create content. How to find work in the media industry when it's so competitive. So I think with this, it doesn't matter if it's media, it doesn't matter what industry that you're going for. I think going back to the whole Dyson analogy of if you want something badly enough, you won't stop until you get a yes. And one thing that I was actually pretty surprised to find was that you can use your student card so hard. So reach out to 10 people on LinkedIn who has a job that you might be interested in and ask for an informational interview. And what this means is that you can just ask them about their career, ask them about their life, their path, how they got there, and you'd be surprised. At least 2 out of 10 people will say yes to you. It's a natural human instinct to want to help other people. If you reach out as a student and you say like, hey, I'm not really sure what I want to do with my life, maybe don't say that, be a little more professional. But if you allude to that, then the person reading it, like a professional reading that, would be like, oh, I remember what it was like when I graduated. So like, yes, I will help you. Asking people who are already there for their thoughts and their advice, that's really probably like the best way to go. And also send your resume to as many people as you can. Don't be afraid of being annoying. Message recruiters, keep in touch with recruiters. There's a lot that you can do. Go to career fairs, get to know the recruiters from different companies that you want to work at. There's a lot. Yeah, not being afraid of getting no's, and also not being afraid of being mildly, moderately annoying. Persistence, for the most part, will always work in your favor. And moving on to the last section of life advice. What are lessons you've learned in college that you still value today? What did I learn in college? I think I learned a lot about what I don't want to do and how I don't want to feel. Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest takeaway. How lost and how alone and how down I felt. It's a really good gauge for me to never return to that lifestyle and that stage of my life. The partying, the drinking, the avoiding, the running away, the not facing myself, not facing my reality. Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest takeaway. One piece of advice you give yourself if you went back in time to 2014. Everything that I say will probably be very cliche, but I think the most important thing would be you're not alone. Everything will work out. Don't stop dreaming and keep fighting for what you believe in. Yeah, I think those are like the 4 most important things. Yeah, this is why my channel exists. If I can help even one of you guys feel less alone and less crazy for dreaming the way you dream and for wanting to do the things you want to do, then I've succeeded. Navigating life is never easy. Finding your purpose is never easy. Finding your why is never easy. And it's the most difficult because it's something that we have to do and we can only do on our own, but we don't have to. As in, like, the answers you will find yourself. And it's like, it's very personal, but the journey, you don't have to go through that alone. And I think that's what I learned a few years after I graduated. So with all of that, I hope this video was helpful and that you guys got something out of it. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave it down below. I'll do my best to answer to as many of the comments as I can. And even if you guys read comments that you feel like you can answer or help each other, by all means, please do. This is why we have such a beautiful community, because you guys do help each other when you see it. So with that, thank you guys so much for watching, and thanks again to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. If you want to continue learning, if you want to continue growing, they're a great resource. And with that, see you guys in next week's video. Bye! Bye! Oh, also follow me on Instagram if you want to ask questions like this. Okay, bye.